classic example of just the unnecessary cruelty of some of these phases, the toxicity of them. Nothing is too far, you know? Nothing is off limit. You know, in my life, I've been on the yard with fucking cold-blooded killers, you know, real gangsters, and that he didn't scare me. In hindsight, I should have, but the responsibility isn't on that person, really. It does have a huge impact on making my life better, and you have both improved my life significantly.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, just, I don't know, another day, another dollar, as a famous man once said.
Was that me?
Was you? How are you doing? I mean, what's anything new and exciting in the world of Extreme Dads, online or real life?
I got to see this thing with you on SFTP. That was a long time coming, I'll tell you that.
Yo, when
I've been calling in harping my story to those boys for a while.
So here's a funny backstory. So he sent me what do you call it? First of all, he was he wanted to know more info about the stuff so that he could chop up the 3 hours of the doc basically into something that he could play for the show. So he was hitting me up and he was, telling me all, these stories of of you calling in and basically him, dunking on you all these times and shit. And he was really nice, just like offline too, like just to let you know, like talking about the story. Like I do think that he like legitimately felt, a little bad for what had happened, and the way that he had done you even. And I just thought that was really cool because I think that's really rare from an online character. You know what I mean? Like him, it was really nice of him to do that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I've called in there and I've always harbored a little bit of fondness for Tommy, but I mean, at the same time, he says like that I have these cognitive issues, but at the same time, like he's also a very difficult person to speak with in general when he's like just yelling and like not like, if he just would be quiet sometimes and let me speak, I'm sure that I would be able to like make my points with a lot more cognitive clarity, But
His
he
show,
can get a little bit heated himself.
Yeah, and his show is like, it's more like Howard Stern. I would kind of make it similar to. So it's kind of hard to have like a really kind of slow and thoughtful, deep conversation. You know what I mean?
It can be tough, yeah. It can definitely be tough. And so that's where I think like a lot of our disconnect is. But at the same time, I did enjoy the coverage, and I thought, there was a lot of what. It's so funny because he said like, there was a point when he said like, Extreme Dad's gonna be like, oh well, blah 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 blah. You didn't talk about this or you didn't do this, right? Or on all this stuff, and that's exactly what I was thinking. But
Classic.
But at the same time, like, it's the like overall. I mean, I was very, very, very happy with some of the things that were said, even if like a couple of things were missed or a couple of things were wrong. Like overall, just the broader fucking picture. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better like. That's what I've been trying to say to him for years, is just the fact that it's not about like politics. It's about the just unnecessary cruelty of the matter. Like how for no reason whatsoever. I mean, this happened, and that's all that I've really ever been trying to say is that, yes, it's baseless, yes, it's wrong, but it's also just unnecessary.
You didn't deserve to have this happen to you, regardless of whatever scenario happened, whether or not you did bring it upon yourself or whether you didn't, or like, no matter what, no one deserves to have this done to them at all, ever. It's just online shit. It's, yeah.
Right, and it was just like, it was cruel to a degree that's like almost unthinkable. Now, have you seen what's going on with Rose Wrist and just his whole situation?
About how he's leaving Twitch. He's not streaming anymore.
Yeah, do you know why?
It has something to do with the Keffels harassment after he literally all he did was just like read over the Destiny manifesto, right?
Yeah, and Vosh and his community ran him off the internet. You know, Wyvern Nervosa shut his website down, like blah 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 blah, all this stuff, bunch of fucked up stuff, you know.
And Rose Wrist
And
is
I
probably
talked
one of the
to him,
most genuine characters on the internet.
a nice guy, yeah, I like him myself too. I spoke with him, and you know, and he, you know, and I, you know, you always talk about like these people getting these quote unquote dunks on me, but like to a certain degree, like I'm I go on people like Rose Wrist's channel so that he can entertain his audience. You know what I mean? Like I'm not there to win a debate or to like convince people I'm right. I'm there to be entertaining for him, much like much like your like my story has been entertaining for the people in your audience. You know what I mean? Like the goal is to kind of like allow him a chance to fucking make content, I guess. So I am over there with him, like, and I'm talking about like basically some of the stuff that happened. And just the way that he talked about Vosh and the way that he's like, no, I don't really think that Vosh would do that. I think that him and his community are pretty fucking nice people, and just it really breaks my heart to see it end like this for him, because I do think that he's a genuine kid, and I just think that like it's another classic example of just the unnecessary cruelty of some of these spaces, the toxicity of them.
I agree. I completely agree. I mean, over the past over my past time getting more directly involved with online politics, I am slowly like I'm not a censorship guy, like at all. I'm very much free speech in all of this. But I'm now starting to wonder, basically to the limits of free speech that we give people like Vosh who amass these insane platforms. I mean, Vosh with 20,000 subscribers isn't really a big deal, with his rhetoric. But I think what I was able to show through the Extreme Daddy Festo is that over a span of 2 years,
Time.
his rhetoric
Yeah.
hasn't really changed. If anything, it's just gotten crazier to some degrees.
And his audience has only grown.
And his audience has only grown. And, I mean, you can look at the numbers, right? And his audience kind of has hit like 400,000 and it's peaked there.
Him,
it's like, it's a really ingrained audience now. Yeah. Yeah,
I literally
it's
debated
crazy.
him with 2,000. Hold on, let me turn off my VPN. It might increase my quality here.
Okay, I just let you know you do sound pretty good on my end. You're not crackling at all. Oh, maybe on my end. Duh.
How about now? Is it okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Perfect. So yeah, and his audience has only grown, and so it's this thing that like over time, over this like that these like situations they become toxic and cruel very quickly. I have no doubt that I don't think that anyone that day in Bunny Mew's server wanted what happened to happen. I don't think that they understood or had any intention on the extent to which people went to really fuck with me around the fucking about those messages. I don't think they thought for a second that they would have to reach that they did in the end. But there's this subtle danger, this kind of like this very quiet cruelty to online spaces like this that we know when someone's in the out group, they're in the out group, and once they're there, anything goes, and the in group has no problem ganging up on them, saying whatever the fuck they want, really going after this person. And there's nothing is too far, Nothing is off limits. Nothing is, and depending on the space, depending on the creator, depending on the people, man, that can get real ugly real quick. And I don't think we pay enough attention to that. I don't think that we are as vigilant as we could be at policing that. And I think that, dare I say it, to a certain degree, it's almost encouraged. I mean, I'm going on Chud Logic's stream later, and I mean, like, if we think about him with the Pedo Anna thing, and like, he told me that he was glad my house burned down. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think that he means that, but it's like something that, like, in the heat of the moment, like,
I know what you mean.
The group brings it out in it,
Can I ask you this? Like, when Vosh says something, of kind of the same caliber as, like, I want your house to burn down, and, like, when Chud Logic says it, like we could both agree that I think Vosh might actually mean it when he says things like that.
I do too, yeah, I think Vosh does.
Yeah, with, like, Chud Logic, it's more like he's trolling. But I know what you mean, though. It has the same effect on the audience in a way.
Well, and it's not as much as, like, so, like, me, I'm, like, obviously I've been through a lot in my life, and, like, a fucking internet comment, it's not gonna kill me. Like, when Chud Logic says that, it has no emotional effect on me personally.
Right.
And I understand why he says it, right?
Yeah, but can I say something really quick before you get to that?
Oh, yeah, of course.
I think what this speaks to is it's the way that I think Vosh has cultivated an audience of 400,000 people that almost militantly believe what he says. Whereas Chud Logic has grown, an audience of similar, it's a smaller size, obviously, but he's grown them and kind of, like, pruned them in such a way that they can appreciate irony. Like, I almost don't think that even anyone in Chud Logic's audience, right, is thinking to themselves, right, like, oh, we should rally to go burn down Chud Logic's house, right? But when Vosh says something like, we should dox this person should be out of the spaces, blah, 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 an army of 400,000 people, fuck yeah. Like, Vosh's group of viewership is significantly more likely to actually do something about it than Chud's is, because they're insane. Whereas Chud Logic's audience is... Yeah, I don't know. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, do you think a creator has any agency over their audience in the way that they cultivate them?
Absolutely. In the very first debate I had with Vosh, I told him that, like, in my life I've been on the yard with fucking cold-blooded killers, real gangsters, and that he didn't scare me, and that I wasn't afraid of him. And in hindsight, I should have been. I really should have been. And I underestimated just the overwhelming, just compounding negativity that Vosh could bring to bear by just sticking his audience on someone. I really, truly, I didn't have the understanding that I have now of just, like, these spaces and the online politics. I happened upon that debate by accident. It was just in my recommended. It wasn't planned or anything like that, And...
That scares me. That's really scary. Like, okay, like, part of the story for me about the Extreme Dad story was, like, I felt like this could happen to anybody, Extreme Dad. It could happen to me. It could happen to any of the people in my chat. It happened to Cygnus. They tried to railroad him, too, on fucking Chud Logic stream. Like... And I feel like I'm still in this like, phase where I'm kind of, like, naive of, like, to the power of how fucked up your life could possibly be made by some of these people online.
Well, and that's why, like, I get on you when you talk about the passive racism stuff. It's because, like, it's not because I, like, want to tell you that you're wrong, or because I dislike the spirit of what you're trying to say. It's because I'm afraid for you, because, like, I want you to be safe and not, like, do something that I see as, like, a huge danger, right? And so it's like that naivety, Nyack.
Whatever it is.
It like, it's the same thing that I had that led me into this. And it's like, if I had any sense at all, like I would have never done my very first debate with Vosh, let alone like all of the further interactions that I had. But then again, we get lost in this and we forget that it's the same thing with Ciensius, it's the same thing with Xanderall, it's the same thing with all this. We forget that, like, hey, just because someone is naive and they do something they shouldn't have done doesn't mean that the villain, that the fucking monster in this, the person who's doing the wrong, shouldn't be held accountable. And I think that we just kind of like, because we want the content, because we want Vosh to continue to make videos, because we want people to continue to interact with, and because we've kind of committed ourselves to these communities, we allow the guilty to go unpunished and instead just judge the person who foolishly walked into the situation in the first place.
I think you're 100% right. Nothing to add. Yeah.
And I think that that's not a good precedent to set, because we set this precedent where people know that they'll get away with it, like Chud Logic, right? He says that because he knows that not only will he not be held accountable, but people will like that viciousness, that casual cruelty. Yeah, I mean, like, my house burning down was like one of the fucking top 10 most traumatic experiences in my life, like, and like he's like, oh, here's something that I can exploit and my audience will love it, like they'll go crazy for it. And if anything, if anyone is going to be held accountable for that comment, it's me. I'm going to be held accountable for it, and I'm going to be told like, oh, I shouldn't be engaging, I shouldn't be in that space, I shouldn't be allowing it to happen. And it's like, we forget that, like, hold on a second, maybe we shouldn't be allowing it to happen ourselves, like as a group, let alone not like putting it all on the individual every single time.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it's not like you commanded an audience. That's the real thing for me too. It's like, what's the difference between me going in my Discord, and and I talk to people, just in a community, right? And we shoot the shit and we say negative things about each other or whatever, right? But then what's the difference between then I go on stream and I say, "Oh, Max the Confessor, you fucking piece of shit, blah 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 blah," and you don't have any way to fucking defend yourself, and then you've brought it to this, this public space.
Well, right, and I mean, the thing is that, like, at the end of the day, and what I'm trying to do here is, like, I'm trying to make my points more about, like, everyone as a whole, as opposed to just like me as an individual, because I know that people are a little bit worn out on that, and like, duly noted. But like, just in my particular case, I mean, Vosh did what he did knowingly. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, whether or not people want to say that he knew at the time it was false or he didn't. It doesn't matter. What he did intentionally, and he did so to inflame his audience and alienate me from them, and to essentially get them to attack me. I mean, that.
And just to add,
point.
There's good evidence that he did know.
Yeah, and I know he knows, like, knew at the time. Like, I know for a fact. And like, granted, like, not everyone has to believe that, but at the same time, there's no way you can say that what he was doing was anything other than a hit. Like, he was calling a hit, and it worked. I mean, it was well done. But that being said, like, going forward, it's just, I see it even on a macro scale. Or micro scale? Micro scale?
Micro's tiny, macro is large.
Yeah, micro scale. The even the communities that we frequent, like there's this.
I'm out. I'm done with them, bro. I left Edo. I left.
Oh, you have?
Bro, dude. I left 6 servers last week because I'm just sick of
Why?
it, bro. My God, dude. Edo is literally a Lavloon / fucking Groiper cesspit at this point. I'm just very done with it.
You know, the
And
thing about it
basically,
is
all of the cool people that I used to talk to, they're in other servers. I just don't give a shit.
You know, I've recently found a few friends in there, but the more that I've done a lot of time, I spent a lot of time like, you know, after your video came out, like there was a bit of a realization for me. Just like before then, I didn't really understand what people meant when they said like when they told me that I was only talking about myself, or when I was like only talking about this one subject. I didn't really understand, or I didn't really get it, like people's complaints. And I think I don't really know why, like it didn't dawn on me sooner, but I think that just like for me, it was just so, I don't know. I was just blind to the annoyance that it might be for other people when I was so like repetitive, or I just couldn't move on from it.
You were suffering.
You know?
I mean,
Yeah,
like this
I
was.
think so,
Yeah.
and it was a lot. It was a big deal, and I mean, it just there's so much that even I didn't get into. You know, that like, you know, that wasn't in the video, or just that like.
And let's leave it
So
out.
much stuff that happened, you know? Yeah, of course.
Just
But
kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying that like it was, for me, it was all that was. Like, and
Right.
then, you know, I'd have people who didn't believe me, or just like I would have to always fight my case to convince people. And it felt like this thing that it didn't feel like I was always bringing it up. It just felt like it was the only thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Can I say something? You know, the last 2 conversations that I had with you while we were just in random VCs, and this was after Extreme Daddy Festo Part 1, you didn't say anything about it, and I remembered someone tried to bring it up, and you actually actively tried to pivot to a different part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, so I just want to say, like, people out there in the
now.
audience, like, for it, like, I think Extreme Dad has really had a lot of growth through this, and not because, like, he needed to grow, but more like because finally the fucking truth has come out and people are recognizing that this horse shittery was afoot. You know what I mean? Like,
And
yeah.
you know what Tommy calls a cognitive issue. It's like, for me, it's just like, you know, it's hard to, I think it's hard for people to fully appreciate and understand like just what happens when like something like this takes place, and just like what it's like. And that's fair enough. I wouldn't wish it upon them, you know, and like I don't want people to understand. But like I was put in this very interesting predicament, and people say that I'm not a good advocate for myself and all this other stuff, but it's just like there is no good advocacy for the person accused of being a pedophile, right? Like there's
Right.
no good advocacy for the person who has their like DMs exposed and like, you know, is called out by these 2 huge creators, and like, you know, has everyone essentially believing their word and has no audience to back them up. There's no advocacy really to sustain any sort of meaningful, you know.
Yes. And it goes like this too. Vosh says something, Xanderhall says something, Vermin says something. All of a sudden, you have 3 people confirming a story. How?
Yes.
So now you, Extreme Dad, have to go find at least three credible advocates for yourself to get your story out, right? And you tried. You had Wicked Supreme. Destiny cleared your name, knew that it was fake. What's his name? Faraday knew that this was fake, but he couldn't come forward at the time because there was stuff with Adam Waffen that was going on, whatever. So, It's just a damn shame that it took this long for basically me, Zonia, President Sunday, Chud Logic. We're kind of the, you know, the 4 biggest ones, I think. As much as we were still grilling you, you know, to be like, hey, no, this was some bullshit that happened and needs to be addressed, you know? And then...
Well, see, like, then, and like, as much as I am trying to make this not about me, like, you're wrong even there, and I despise the fact that you said that, because President Sunday...
Interesting.
First of all, not only banned me from his fucking YouTube chat when I was just in there chilling, not fucking even talking about myself, but also, like, fucking doubled down and said, like, oh yeah, that I'm this sex pest who was flirting with minors. So I mean, you know, I've never, he always said like, oh, well, I'm trying to help you, but I've never seen
you've never
him
felt
as,
that way?
Yeah, I still don't, because I think that, like, he's just a wolf in sheep's clothing, and Zonia too, because they're, you know, quote unquote acquainted. But you know, the point is that that's the problem, though, is that everybody keeps telling me to, like, let people help me, or to, like, that I'm a bad advocate for myself. But, you know, President Sunday told me to run and hide and never show my face on the internet again, because it won't be good for me, and that, like, blah 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 blah. I mean, it's Vosh simp through and through. And so it's a very confusing situation, and it's got a lot of nuance to it. And at the end of the day, I just don't think that there is any real cognitive way of processing it. I mean, it's a shitty thing that happened, and at the end of the day, you have only shitty ways of dealing with it. It's not anything that can be really just, like, tied up neat with a little bow. You know, it's something that fucking sucks, and all the ways that you have to fucking go about fixing that or setting it right, they fucking suck too. And I just think that maybe there isn't enough appreciation of that. And, like, at the end of the day, like, I am aware that I perhaps myself, in different ways, and probably many of them, could have handled it better. And I will take note and do that in the future for the next time that Vosh and Xander all call me a pedophile for no reason.
I'm gonna be honest, dude. Like, stop explaining yourself. Honestly, like, I don't think you have to do any explaining for yourself. I think you're really, you know what I mean? Like, I feel bad that there's a part of me that feels like you feel kind of obligated even to keep explaining for yourself. Like,
oh no, I don't think that. Do you feel like I'm explaining myself right now? I don't feel like I'm explaining anything. Maybe
I was just misgetting the vibe. I'm sorry. I don't mean it like that.
Well, no, I just well, I mean, tell me if you do. I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, we could have chat. But
basically, I would just say
to rehash anything.
Yeah, no, I don't mean it like that. I just to put a nice little bow on this, I'm gonna have Elder Drazi come in. I think he wants to come on for the call for a little bit. Extreme Dad's story is out there. Many people have looked at it. There's 3 hours of biographical content, basically, on Extreme Dad, for you to go sift through, to basically decide for yourself what the story is. But at the end of the day, Extreme Dad is not a pedophile. He did not deserve to have this done to him. Vosh is a fucking extremist. Enough said. Let's get Elder Drazi in here.
Really quickly on that, you know, and for what it's worth, we've had our disagreements, we've gone back and forth, and, you know, you and I both know how much time we've spent just ourselves bickering about it. But for what it's worth, Will, you know, man to man, I appreciate the time you spent on this, and I thank you for it.
And I really appreciate you too, and I think that, all in all, you are a net good guy. For sure.
Well, thanks,
like, yeah.
All right, bring him in here. Did you want me to bounce, or did you mean?
No, stay. Elder's gonna come and chat for a bit. I'm waiting for Queen Alexa to get, like, I think we must have messed up times. But yeah, so I'm gonna get Elder in here. As soon as
stream in a minute, but I have time. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, do whatever you gotta do, bro. Are you going on the incel stream?
No, I think I'm doing it before that. Has he started that yet? Anyway, bring him in here. It's all good. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Hey, what up, Elder? You're on the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. 1 minute. Let me, there we go. Now I can see you. So I was obviously listening in, and, I don't hear a lot of people mention kind of what you guys are talking about, that we don't talk about at all how much like power content creators have to just like seriously fuck over like the average person. And it's kind of crazy because like these things don't happen that often, and when they do, the creator usually gets glorified and the other person gets completely silenced or like obliterated by everybody else to where their voice doesn't even matter. And that's I think for the average person who sees the Extreme Daddy Festo or just hears about Extreme Dad's story, that's an extremely important takeaway. And I really hope that that's the message that gets through, other than obviously that Extreme Dad really didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that 100%. And I'd say that's almost more important than even that my own personal grievances, because like the damage that can be done, you know, I'll be okay, but who knows? Like, God forbid this happen to somebody who isn't as, you know, resilient. You know, I just, you know, it really drove me to the edge, and I really, it'd be heartbreaking for this to end any other way, you know? And I just hope that like people can, that we do something as a community before somebody ends up, you know, in a worse off situation than having to have Will make a video about them.
Okay, hold on. So
and you have them on their stream.
Yes. So my first part of my Extreme Daddy Festo Part 2 that I get so much criticism for is called The Silence of the Left. Because the whole thing that I was really trying to get at was that there are certain characters, right, that we just either it's impossible to hold them to account or we just don't want to. I'm not really sure what it is yet. But I really needed people like on my side, like Chud Logic or like big characters, you know, to kind of like come on my side, to be like, we really need to finally put our foots down and stop letting people like Vosh run game on us like this, and stop spreading this bullshit. But it really seems like there is just not the online political willpower to do that. What do you guys think?
Yeah. And that's, well, Elder Drazi, I'll let you go first.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is that when we see something like this, you kind of have to have the thought that, like, well, if I say something, what's to stop it from happening to me too? Which is not entirely unreasonable. Like, is it really worth sticking your neck out and have people saying, like, so, like, let's see this exact circumstance, like, well, what if people call me a pedophile sympathizer? What if nobody hears what I'm trying to say, and now I'm, like, absolutely fucked for saying something? That's terrifying. And I don't think that it may not even be reasonable to ask people to put that much out there to do it, as unfortunate as it is. This should just be something, like, this has to be something that I think the average person has to understand that it can happen to them. Otherwise, that will to do something about it just isn't going to be there.
Elder
because,
Drazi,
like, how easy could it have been for it to be like you or me, just like somebody catching us talking about a Mr. Girl take, and then all of a sudden the same thing happens to us, you know?
Okay, exactly. First of all, Elder, your mic is mildly crackly. I'm not 100% sure why, but it's only when you
better?
peak. I don't know.
I've been a little too close to it.
It's probably better now. Yeah, because I'm not hearing it. But anyways, like, so, I mean, hello, being a Mr. Girl fan, right? I think that we, as Mr. Girl fans, we're kind of super inoculated against this, because we know that basically anytime we like or retweet a Mr. Girl comment, we might get called a pedo sympathizer. I have been called a pedo sympathizer. I mean, some fucking whack job on YouTube, I mean, made a fucking video about me, you know? That has, like...
Oh, yeah.
I think that's like, it's like one of his most viewed videos on his channel. It's fucking great. Like, it literally is so glorifying to me. But like, yeah, it's like, it's the same shit. I'm just glad it wasn't someone bigger, right? I mean, it could have been, I don't know, some kind of 50, 100,000 subscriber person, right? Being like, oh, look at punk bitch Will, the pedophile sympathizer, right? That loves Mr. Girl. Like, it's shitty.
Yeah. And Mr. Girl's Extreme Dad's a really good example of how far it can be taken, because I think most time people think if something like this happens, so you're just gonna get kind of booted off these like spaces online, but like, no, it can bleed into your real life, and like then you're just fucked. You can lose your job. Bad things can happen that aren't just, it doesn't just stay online when you fuck with somebody this hard.
No, people are vicious. I will say that, but I feel like we're on like in this dangerous zone that I was talking about earlier, where we're bordering on blaming us as individuals for the actions of others. So, like, we're saying how like it could happen to anyone, but the responsibility isn't on that person really. It's on the
True.
community not to, you know, like themselves or be sicked upon someone who isn't guilty of something like that, and to use reason and, you know, patience and understanding to not viciously attack people for things that aren't warranted.
True.
The fandoms go hard though, man. It's really hard to convince people of that when they believe every single thing that comes out of somebody's mouth that they watch on stream. Nobody's fact checking Vosh. Nobody's fact checking Destiny. Like, you know what I mean? We hear them talk and we just go, this is correct. I believe them because I heard them be right enough times that they are infallible to me. And if somebody criticizes them, I will just shut them down and not hear a word they say. We're in a weird spot where it should be on the communities, but I think that it might not be feasible for that to be the case.
I got a question, Elder. What is your least favorite thing about Mr. Girl? What's Mr. Girl's most egregious thing that he's done, in your opinion?
It's like the ADHD thing's definitely up there.
Fuck! Damn, that was a good one. Holy shit, that was a crazy arc for sure.
It was so
true.
Irresponsible, and but it's hard to say that too because he did walk it back. At least the thing that I had the biggest problem with, he changed his tone on it, and I respected the fuck out of that. Which means his criticisms of Destiny, not taking criticism from his community and changing his behavior, he does hold true to that. After his ADHD hotline, he changed the way he talked about it, which was phenomenal. Otherwise,
That's true. I haven't heard him say a single thing even remotely in that vein about ADHD or any kind of medical diagnosis, actually. Like, I think he still holds that kind of fundamental framework for the trans ideology still, but I haven't heard him ever try to apply it to, you know, something like ADHD again, which is good.
Yeah, I think that's the only time I've heard him be wrong for the wrong reasons. And be corrected. So that was probably the thing.
Cygnus, Destiny taking Lav. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Cygnus, Destiny taking Lav seriously was a huge wake-up call to me. Yeah, high fucking key. I am super just absolutely red-pilled on taking any, like, content creators super seriously, like, with what they say. At least very mainstream ones. I'm, like, super over it.
Lav is one of the worst, like... her trying to talk about like how people are sexualizing and making her uncomfortable, like she is the worst about that in VC. Like she targets people and even preys upon them. I heard her saying like how she only wants to have sex with somebody because they're 18, and like she was making it clear like, oh, we have to do it before you turn 19 and blah 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 blah. I was just thinking like I would be crucified for that. Like
no one knows the Lavloon conversations that are happening in VC on a daily basis, in conjunction with the complete bullshittery that she is going on fucking stream and talking about every day. Well, that is what no one knows.
It makes it like irrelevant. It makes what she says completely pointless and irrelevant.
She's a grifter.
I think I'm gonna reserve my opinions.
Sorry, don't speak on this. Don't speak on this, Elder. You gotta talk to her later.
Well, the one thing that I'll point out about it is a lot of people, not you guys. I know you guys have a more more direct relationship. That there's been like VCs and all that, but that for a lot of people online, they don't have any of that. And I have the same concern that I have about with Cherry and Stardust when they accused Mr. Girl of what they accused him of. Is that I have never heard Lav talk about anything that people have a problem with her about without a fucking gun to her head. Like, it's never like, hey, why don't you just tell me what you think, and I'm gonna not interrupt you. I'm not gonna challenge you on what you say in the middle of you fucking saying it. I just want to hear what you have to say, in its entirety, that never happens. So it's really hard to know what somebody thinks, because she is obviously, her self-admitted, she gets emotional about things, and maybe we could gain something by just actually hearing her thoughts without that shit happening in between. And it kind of freaks me out that nobody ever gets a chance to do that when people are harping on them. When people are mad in general, they can't say what they think without being harped on. There we go.
I don't know. I think that's relatively unlikely that anything useful could be gained from that.
Well,
But that's
I don't
just
know.
like my opinion.
So that's the only thing I can say on that, because I don't know her that well, but I will.
You keep saying will, and it makes me want to make like a did someone say extreme jab, but like for Will. But I can't think of one yet. All that being said, I don't know. It's just like it's really difficult with Lav because she's just so unlikable. That's just me personally, but I just find her just really unlikable.
I found myself forming opinions about Lav during the Destiny stream, and then I kind of reeled myself back. I was like, you know what? I'm being a hypocrite here. She's just being grilled this whole time, and I don't know what she would actually say if she wasn't being grilled. I don't know what she could express if she wasn't. So I was like, it's inappropriate for me to form these opinions. However, I'm not saying anything about you guys. You guys have your own actual experiences, and I don't know about them. So
one thing I will say,
yeah,
is that like I've been asking her to put in a good word for me with Destiny, like over and over and over again, right? And she told me that she would if I typed out this really long thing for her. So I did. And, you know, she still hasn't done it. And it just like, if you don't need, if you, like, I don't know what more evidence you need to convince you that she's a bad person other than that, like, really honestly. But,
did she tell you that she didn't do it?
Yeah, yeah. But she hasn't done it because Destiny still thinks I'm a murderous psychopath, but, you know.
It could be that she can't convince him. That he has,
no,
his mind made up.
I think it's just that she hasn't done it, but I understand that you think she's hot and you like her, and like, you
I
know.
have no opinions of her, none. I have forced myself to
sounds like you have one
not
or
have
two
opinions.
Maybe,
okay.
You know, just a couple. That's fine. That's fine.
Wait, hold on. Let's tone this. Hold on now. Hold on. I can't let you grill Elder too hard here because Elder's trying to reserve his opinions for later when he goes on stream. Okay, so let's tone it down.
You know, I will say, Elder, you are the one person that, like, just from the jump, you know, has been kind to me, and I value and appreciate that. And I, you know, never got a chance to thank you, so just know that you're a good man in my book.
Yeah, no problem.
You know, I'm just saying
and
that.
Keep in mind too, I reserved all my opinions about you until I spoke to you as well.
And I appreciate that, buddy. You're a good man for that.
I appreciate.
I just think that, like, you know, she, well, actually,
are you suggesting that I go by what other people tell me about somebody?
No. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, if you reserve your judgment for her, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. Like,
yeah,
it'll be evident to you. I mean, there's no way for you to come to any other conclusion. I mean, it really, and I'm not kidding. Like, I know it sounds like I am, but it really is that blatant. It really is that obvious. It really is that, like
God damn.
I mean, it truly is. It truly is.
All right, I'm gonna say one more thing about this, and then we're gonna end it. Just because I have a certain laugh tolerance. Okay, Elder, if you can watch the streams that she has on her YouTube channel. I mean, where she interviews Zonia, Cherry, Brittany, like the first 3 or 4 times she's interviewed on stream. Okay, compare what she says in those 4 videos with what she says now. It's completely different. I mean, we're flipping on a dime here. And those people were extremely charitable to Lav in their first interactions with her.
Did someone say extreme?
I'm done. No more Lav. Alright, you getting out of here, Extreme Dad?
Yeah, I will. Hey, but both of you guys, you know, like I said, I appreciate you both. You both have done me, have shown me incredible kindness and generosity, and have spent a lot of your own personal time on my story and just on trying to make my life better. And that hasn't gone unnoticed, despite our own personal disagreements or any sort of quips I might have made at you. I truly, deep down in my heart, appreciate the both of you. And, you know, it means a lot to me. even if maybe I don't make that the most obvious sometimes, or I have a poor way of expressing it, it does have a huge impact on making my life better, and you have both improved my life significantly. So I appreciate that more than you know.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Extreme
nice
Dad.
to
Anytime. Seriously.
All right. Be safe.
Peace.
Yeah, you too.